Welcome to the Friends and Rivals podcast.
Let's talk Devils and Islanders, let's talk Penguins and Rangers, but let's not talk about Flyers, cause they're a bunch of fucks, which no one can deny.
I'm back in the confines, as you can probably hear. I have my microphone. I am back at home, and I'm in my friendly confines after 2 weeks on the road, not consecutively, but just recording days. So I'm very happy to be home and recording. And it was a very long week. So I had some time off of work, and I got to do the as I alluded last week. Steve and I did the volunteer work at the Sean O'Hara charity golf outing on Wednesday of last week, and it was such a lovely day. Such a lovely day.
Lovely day. Very long day, but very lovely.
I was telling Steve, like, when you're busy as hell and you're running around like a chicken out your head, time usually goes so fast, except that day. Time was just going uber slow, and it's not like we were just sitting around twiddling our thumbs. We constantly ran from the time I got there at 8:30 until probably 5:30, and even after that I was still running around. So I was exhausted, but it was for a great cause, with great people, and it was a lot of fun. Got to meet one of my Knicks heroes in Charles Oakley, and also another Knicks hero, John Starks, was also there. It was Charles Oakley and I had a moment at dinner. I'll save the moment and keep it between us, but we had a moment.
Oh, goody.
It was just me gushing.
How he doesn't like Dolan?
Well,
Bill,
no, it wasn't.
It wasn't. Shared moment.
Right. Shared moment, basically me. That was it.
Put your hand on his thigh and go.
Hey, well, no, we were by the dessert.
I thought you were
going for some ice cream. So
wow.
Oh,
there you go. Story's out now.
Spoon touch.
DMZ. Oakley eats ice cream.
He will just refer to me as that crazy white guy that came up to him that one time. That's how he will refer to me for sure. That's how he will refer to me for sure. But our President's Trophy and #1 seed New York Rangers started the Eastern Conference Final against the Florida Panthers last Wednesday, the night of the O'Hara outing. Now, my biggest fear of this game was knowing that I was going to have to start watching it during the dinner and the speeches and everything else like that, and that some tear-jerking speech that some little girl with CF was going to give, the Rangers were going to score, and I was just going to scream in cheer and excitement during her speech. Luckily, that did not happen. In fact, the Rangers did not score a goal in game one, and lost 3-0. I didn't see a lot of the game. I saw the third period. I was back at Steve's for that. But the Lafreniere own goal was just the backbreaker, with a little over 3 minutes to go in the game. I don't think they ever had a chance in tying that game, based upon their play in the third period. But they lose game one at home, and Florida gains home ice from the Rangers, and they move on to game two, which was a much better start for the Rangers. In fact, they score in the first period, and Florida scores a power play goal in the first period by I believe it was it was Carter Verhaeghe and Vincent Trocheck scoring first period goals, and then that was it. There was no more scoring in the game until in overtime, where Barclay Goodrow scored his fourth of the playoffs in overtime, about 14 minutes into overtime, to beat the Florida Panthers and earn a split in New York. For Florida, it's 100% what they were looking for, coming up to New York and getting that split, at least getting one of the two games in New York. Obviously, the Rangers wanted to hold serve on home ice, but they did not. They lose game 1 3-0. They win game 2 2-1 in overtime. At that point, they were 3-0 in overtime games in the playoffs. That game, game 2, Rangers, like I said, had a really, really good first period, probably good first 10 to 13 minutes of that first period. And then kind of Florida wrestled the game from them a little bit until probably the end of regulation. And then the Rangers kind of dominated that overtime a little bit. They really turned it on, really regrouped and came out and had a really, really good overtime that led to the Goodrow goal. And then game 3 happens last night in Florida, and this one was just a complete and utter shit show from the Rangers. Not a lot of good to take from this, except 2 goals apiece from Alexis Lafreniere and Barclay Goodrow, and then the most, I guess, unlikely of heroes, and Alex Wenberg getting the overtime goal a little over 5 minutes into the overtime frame, and the Rangers absolutely steal game 3 in Florida last night, 5-4. And listen, your goaltender gives up 4 goals and he steals the game. It is quite remarkable to say and utter that phrase. But the Rangers, I guess, I mean, if you're being nice and generous, you call the first period even. But after that, in the third period, the Rangers blow a 2-goal lead into the third period, mind you. They're up 4-2 on just an amazing shorthanded goal by Barclay Goodrow, a snipe for his 6th of the playoffs. He didn't score 6 goals in the regular season, but he scored his 6th of the playoffs. And Alexis Lafreniere is just having his coming out party, not only with a really good regular season, but he's having just a tremendous playoffs up until this point. Sure, he goes a couple of games without scoring. I think there's a lot of players that you can say that go through a scoring drought in the playoffs. But Lafreniere has been good. He has scored big goals at big times, and none bigger than in game 3. Both of his goals, both on the backhand. Man, he's got a really good backhand. And for being 22 years old, like Sidney Crosby, I think we all can agree that he probably has the best backhand shot out of maybe any player I may have ever seen. And Lafreniere has got that knack to shoot the puck off the backhand. Maybe not as good as Crosby can do. He's definitely not at that level yet, for sure. But man, you can see it. And he really likes to go to that backhand, and he is lethal with that backhand. So the Rangers are up 2-1 in the series. Maybe shouldn't be, but they are. They are very opportunistic, and they have a chance to go up 3-1 in the series tomorrow night against the Florida Panthers. But you gotta believe that the Panthers are going to come out hungry and try to dominate the game as much as they did in that game 3. To try and pull even in the series and hold court on their own ice to even this series back up at 2. And that's kind of where I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be. I always thought it was going to be 1-1 after 2, and 2-2 after 4, and then I think the Rangers would win the next 2 games. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what plays out. But for as much as this playoff has been extremely stressful, it's been a lot of fucking fun too. It has been hold on. For me, it has been a lot of fun. These playoffs, and when your team is this deep into the playoffs, you've had some really good times. Hopefully, getting to this point, and the Rangers have had their fair share of good times in these playoffs thus far, and hopefully there are many more to come. Observations from you guys? What's that?
6 at the most of the many
6
more.
at the most.
Yeah, I'll do the math. Yeah, my observation,
Thanks, buddy.
Dude, they remind me a lot of the Lightning championship teams, maybe because it's Barclay Goodrow that's scoring all those goals. But like they just are beating teams in so many ways. Like they're winning the 2-1 game, they're winning the 5-4 game. They were outplayed for a good part, like you said, on in game 3. They deserved maybe to lose that game, but they were opportunistic. And yeah, and the goaltending stood up. Their Russian goalie stood on his head. Just a lot reminds me of those Lightning teams. And yeah, I mean, every they're just finding a way to come out on top. So it's been a good run.
Just a totally blown opportunity by you, Bill. I totally thought you were going to say that they remind you of the '94 Rangers. That's what I was expecting. It's because we're all so sick and tired of hearing those similarities between
It's ridiculous. The one they dug up about the
overtime game winner
scored in overtime,
yeah,
being like a trade deadline acquisition. Like if he wasn't a trade deadline acquisition, they could have found another similarity to Mantel. Like they get, they're both Canadian, they're both left-handed, they're both blah, blah, blah. I don't know what they would have found. They would have found something else to make a parallel out of it. It's just ridiculous. But yeah.
I think you're absolutely right on the Lafreniere point. Like, this is definitely his coming out. You will take whatever he gives you in the regular season if he's going to be this kind of playoff performer. You heard his name all game long that last game. So definitely take this version of him over, what you might have seen in seasons 1 and 2.
As he had 6 of the 23 shots on goals, 2 goals, plus 2 in the game. I mean, he was a force to be reckoned with, and he had an amazing opportunity on another play to score even 3 goals in that game. So yeah, you're 100% right. You will take whatever you get in the regular season.
Right.
If this is the guy you're
this
getting in the
kind
playoffs.
of playoff performer.
But I don't know necessarily that you get this type of player unless he has the confidence that was built this year playing with Trocheck and Panarin.
Some guys just step up in the playoffs too, though.
I agree.
It's not like, he also could be not only that, but just, Panarin's getting shut down a little bit. But hey, guys like Trocheck, Lafreniere, they're stepping up and making those things happen. And because, they may not also get the same coverage. But yeah, I mean, if you watch the games, to me, it looks, it's pretty stifling. In the neutral zone, they're getting a hard time getting through and getting in, making plays happen, but they get the goals when they need them. And, Trocheck, and Rempe. I say Rempe because I think he's just, small impacts, but, getting some time in the end of the game, that's pretty big for him. And, I think that those little moments, can help push the team. A big hit from him could potentially change the game. And in these really tight games where 5-4, 1-0, whatever it is, I mean, that could be a game changer. You need those plays. So I think it also puts a big emphasis on to him as hey man, coach has got my back and I'm playing well. I gotta, live up to it. And I think those are also some things that have helped out.
I think there's a lot to be said about what you said about, Panarin's getting checked. Every time he touches the puck, he's got 2 guys on him almost immediately. He has no time, no room to literally do anything, and that's opening up a lot of ice for Lafreniere. And you saw the streak he made on the pass from Trocheck to get shot from the cannon for the first goal, and then just carrying the puck through the neutral zone on the second goal to weave in and out of a couple of Florida defensemen to get that second one. So I think you're right. I think they're paying a little bit more attention to other players, and that's leaving a lot of open ice for Lafreniere. And again, like we mentioned before, opportunistic. He has taken full
advantage
of the opportunity that is presented in front of him. So man, oh man. 2 things. You mentioned Rempe a little bit. After Wenberg scored the goal, and it's funny, right? The 2 overtime goals, the Panthers are sitting there waiting to see if there's a review. I guess this is the new NHL, right? When the overtime goal is scored, you just don't leave the ice. You wait to make sure that the coach had an opportunity to look at the tablet to make sure everything was clean. But even if the puck did hit Wenberg's hand there, the Barkov goal kind of negates any review at the end of the game, because even if it did hit his hand, it was going to be counted because the Barkov goal was counted earlier in the game. But
No, that's
as
you say that, but you know that that's not how it fucking works.
you're 100% right. Bennett can go into fucking crease and run around like a chicken on his head and try to hurt people throughout the game, and that's fine. But as soon as Truba does it, he gets fined. Anyway, um, we'll get into that in a second. But as they score the goal and the Rangers are coming off the bench, Rempe is coming on and he gets fucking just slashed and gets literally two-handed slash across his leg by a Florida Panthers player, and just nothing happens. I guess the referees just turn and look away. A lot of that has to do with Kelly Sutherland being the referee in that game. And earlier in the playoffs, he was the referee that pulled Rempe aside and kind of chastised him for, making a hit on somebody. And Brooksy had that article in the Post about how Sutherland shouldn't referee another Ranger game in the playoffs. And I think there was a little bit going on between him and the players in that game that had a lot to do with the history between Sutherland and the Rangers. My opinion only. But the Trouba hit, he was leading with his elbow. He literally extended his arm elbow first. And if he happened to catch Benny the Jet in the head first, he would have been suspended probably 4 games. But he caught shoulder first and then head. So shoulder was the primary point of contact, and I guess that's only a $5,000 fine. I guess. But there was 2 times in that game where I think that the Florida Panthers embellished the call a little bit. There was, Kachuk is always an embellisher, so I'm going to leave him out of this for this discussion. But there was a hit on Reinhart where he went down and had to leave the ice, and then I think it was there was a penalty called on the play, and he had to leave the ice for the face-off and then jumped right back on, where he was writhing in pain 1 second later, or in 1 second, and then 2 seconds later he jumps back on the ice to get back into the play on the power play. That's one. The second one was Benny the Jet. Benny's down on the ice, dying like he's been concussed and almost decapitated, and then he doesn't miss a shift. So I think that the Panthers are maybe embellishing a little bit. I think they're getting away from their game, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons why they're down in the series 2-1. Once they start getting away from that and start playing the game, I think you'll see a different Florida Panthers team. My opinion only. I don't know if anybody else has noticed any of that. Maybe it's just me.
I'd be lying if I said I paid attention that closely.
I
Fair
don't know.
enough. Fair enough.
I wasn't really looking for that specifically,
Didn't
but
see
yeah,
the-
I think it.
Didn't see the Reinhardt hit.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember when it was, or I think it might have been when he got tangled up with Rempe and Rempe kind of threw him into the boards. I think it might have been on that play. And he went down like he was fucking dying. But I don't know. The Panthers are they're a dirty hockey club. They're like the Hurricanes, only 10 times better than the fucking Hurricanes. And they're a dangerous team, and I'm scared to death of them. I guess I should be.
They've been such tight games. Yeah, I mean, it's great that you got the advantage there. And stealing one could obviously end up being huge, but yeah, they're gonna be a tough team to put away. It is just gonna be tough to put them away.
Yeah. And if we have some delusions of grandeur thinking that the Rangers are going to come out and play a solid game, which I fully expect the Rangers to be a different hockey club than the way they were most of that game 3. I expect a team that played more like they played in game 2 than in game 3. But I don't know. I just think Florida is just going to come back. I think Florida is going to win game 4. I do. I honestly do. But we'll see. That's why they play the game. So we'll see tomorrow night. Looking forward to it. Did I miss anything? Did you guys want to touch on anything that you've seen so far?
No.
fucking the coach of the Panthers, Paul
The
Maurice.
Panthers.
Answers.
Panthers. The
Answers.
Panthers. I didn't realize he was that funny. He's hilarious. I've been listening to his press conference. He's hilarious. But he's also a good coach, and he's a really, I think he's the right coach for this Panthers team because he helps them kind of forget things. And he also reads them the riot act when they need to get read, when they need it to get read to them. So I think he's a really good coach for this team. So, good for them. Game 2 of the Edmonton or game 3 rather of the Oilers and the Stars is being played right now. That game on right now. Does anybody have a score of that game?
They're in intermission, so I don't actually.
2-0 Oilers are ahead.
It's 2-0 Oilers.
2-0 Oilers. Wow. In Edmonton, right? This game's in Edmonton. Wow.
Yeah, it's in Edmonton.
Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman.
Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman scored the goals.
McDavid is getting blasted on social media today, so good for him, scoring a goal and getting on the board. But we'll
why?
Why
is he getting blasted?
Because he's Connor McDavid. He's the best player in the world, and he's not producing up to Barclay Goodrow standards in the playoffs, apparently.
Yeah, well, they're in the conference
hilarious.
finals. Fuck off. I mean, stop. It's about winning at this point. It's not about your fucking stats.
Yeah.
I
don't think so either. I haven't been watching a lot of that series. I guess I should be. But congratulations to the New Jersey Devils on hiring Sheldon Keefe as their next head coach. Steve, I mean, you got to be stoked, right?
Congrats.
No.
I mean,
Steve?
He's a coach.
I
don't blame him for what happened in Toronto. Like, it's just Toronto. It's like any coach for the Jets. They just come here and they suck. So I don't know if I blame him. 212, 97, and 40 over 4+ seasons. Made the playoffs every year.
Yeah.
I think at this point, Devils fan base would take making the playoffs every year. And maybe a couple of exits, a couple of early exits.
We've talked about all the shortcomings of how the Toronto roster has been put together. I am not going to blame the coach on that. Like, yeah, had he run his course there, yeah. I mean, I don't think it would have done anything. I mean, they had to shake it up. They had to get rid of him or whatever in Toronto. But I can't say for sure that he's going to be a good coach, but he might be. I mean, you're just not going to find a lot of really incredibly successful championship winning coaches on the market. So sometimes you just got to take a chance.
So the benefit here is he's 43 years old. So he's young enough that he's going to be able to, deal with the younger kids a little bit easier than somebody who's, 70, like our last coach.
Best coach ever.
And the fact that he didn't win a cup, is kind of beneficial because very rarely does a coach win a cup with one team and then go to another team and then win a cup with that team as well. So that's kind of working in our favor as well, that he didn't win a cup with Toronto. I mean, if that's the best thing I could say, that's the best thing I could say. I mean, let's see how he does. I don't know.
How similar do you think the Devils are from the Maple Leafs?
I mean, they're pretty similar in so much as they don't have goaltending and they have a young team. I think the Devils have a little bit better players on the defensive end. It's just going to be a matter of whether he can help Siegenthaler and Marino regain what they had 2 years ago as opposed to what they had this past season. And maybe that's a structural thing, maybe a different system. They could play a little bit better in a different system.
Yeah.
You want Ryan Graves back?
I'm not 100% upset with it. I'm not 100% happy with it. I don't know who I would have been 100% happy with.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Arniel was hired by the Kraken today, and who was hired by the Jets this past week?
I thought Biles.
Arniel was the Jets and Bilesma was the Kraken. Sorry about that. You're right. So I mean, would you have been happier with either one
No,
of those
no, it would
guys?
have been
Probably
it would
not,
have
right?
been
You've already
same
had
exact
Dan
feelings.
Bylsma, didn't you? Was
No,
it Bylsma? Who am I thinking of?
Bylsma won a Stanley Cup before.
but no, he wasn't with the Devils.
No, I was thinking
Yeah.
a Devil, not
No.
a Penguins coach. But all right. I mean,
Again,
but you're right.
I'll
Who
just
would you be happy with?
get us into the playoffs. Get us into the playoffs and consistently, as opposed to what they've been doing, the last, I don't know, 12 years.
And look, I think there's a little bit of pressure coming on Dougie Hamilton this year. Not only to
Well,
stay healthy, but he is going to be paid the second highest salary for NHL defensemen this year in terms of just salary. He'll be number 2 on the list. So coming back from injury, being the second highest paid defensive player in the NHL, I think there's a lot of pressure on him.
If you look at his stats 2 years ago, he earns his money. Now, the pressure in terms of staying healthy is that, can anybody have pressure to stay healthy? I think they all want to stay healthy.
I think they all want to stay healthy.
Right? I mean, it's just some fluke thing sometimes where you just get injured and can't come back. But I don't think he should feel any pressure. I think if he performs the way he did 2 years ago, he will justify his salary. There are, there are certain RFAs and players that were signed as free agents. One of them who just won was part of the World Championship team that need to start justifying their salary over Hamilton. Palat definitely needs to justify his salary. Otherwise, he's going to be target number one. Well, I think he already is target number 1 for the fans.
Yeah, and I think if he doesn't perform this year, but the good thing about it is Palat, even with his $5 million salary,
yeah,
he's no problem trading him. That salary is 1,000% tradable for a guy who has played in the playoffs and performed. I think you don't have a problem trading him. Maybe you have to eat a quarter of it, but who cares?
He's got a no movement clause. So he's got a 10-team no move clause.
Okay, that's fine. But you got 2 years after this year?
This
of
and
salary
2 more,
left?
yeah. And 6
okay.
million, not 5 million, 6 million. It was 6 for 5 years.
Yeah, I think the cap will go up a little bit. I think it'll be all right. Islanders made some news this past week, and I guess just getting an additional second round pick from the Blackhawks. And look, you haven't had a lot of draft capital in the past. I think Lou is just trying to get some at this point and rebuild the farm team.
I mean, I don't think any team in the NHL would turn down a trade like this. It's kind of, to me, a gift from the Blackhawks.
Well, listen, it's a good win-win. The Hawks get to pick a little earlier in the first round to go along with their top 10 pick. Well, okay, so they move up 2 spaces.
They move up 2 spaces from 2018. So they move up
but they in the second round they also move up 4 spaces by giving up that.
Correct.
So
correct.
It's a win-win for both clubs, I think.
I mean, listen, if that's what they want, I mean, I guess that's what the Hawks have somebody in mind. I'm surprised, like everybody else, I think, that it happened already. Like this is usually a deal that happened at the draft. So that means something else is going on. It feels like either those picks may be used in a way to dump another contract for the Isles. Maybe throw a second with Pajot, somebody, or Lee, or somebody, right? It's very possible they could trade an older, one of the players to try and make up some cap room somewhere to make a move. Because otherwise, I mean, I'm happy with it. Obviously, we get a free second round pick for effectively moving back 6 spots total, and a mid round first round pick, and then also a mid round. They don't really matter. So that many spots typically, unless there's somebody you want to go get. So for me, that's great. Maybe Blackhawks are looking at it from their perspective of trying to go. Maybe they're going to package those picks to move up further up. It's possible that they're trying to do something like that and just getting ready to make that move. Maybe they have somebody in their sights they're hoping to go get if they start talking to teams at the draft and seeing who people are going to choose, and if their guys they get picked or not, and maybe they make a move for it. So we'll see. Hard to say, but they're definitely going for quality, and Isles are definitely going for quantity. So works for both teams in that regard.
So Don Waddell, he was the president and general manager of the Carolina Hurricanes, resigned from his position. I think there's more to this than him just resigning. There's a reason why he's leaving the Hurricanes now. And I think it has to do with ownership. Might wanting to go in a different direction than Waddell wants to go into. And I think instead of caving, I think he just says, I'm out, I'm leaving. I don't want to deal. I don't want to go in that direction. And now I'm going to leave. So I'm sure there was something along those lines that happened. Because bang, he goes right to Columbus, gets swooped in and picked up by the Columbus Blue Jackets to be part of their management team. Not general manager, not president, but just part of their management team. And Waddell has proven that he can put a team together that is successful. The guy who took over for him, Eric.
Success.
Well, yeah, but listen, his going away present was signing Brindamore to that contract. But if they're going to choose Gensel, if they're going to choose Gensel over other players like Natchez and players that they might lose, I don't know. I don't think that's the proper direction for the Hurricanes to go. And if I was Waddell, I'd probably leave too.
And well, I mean, they haven't won a cup, so you gotta make some moves and change some things up. It's not like it works great in the regular season. They almost got there in the playoffs again, but that's a lot of seasons in a row. They've just been under.
No, but like Steve always says, you got to have that team, and you got to have those players to get to the playoffs, right? So you have to have successful regular seasons in order to get to the playoffs, right? You always say that, don't you?
It's like when I think about the Maple Leafs and the Hurricanes and like how they don't have a whole lot of playoff success. Maple Leafs have, I mean, the Hurricanes have slightly more playoff success, but like like we've talked about the Maple Leafs, like I just mentioned 5 minutes ago, like their roster has holes in it. They're not constructed maybe for a long run. We could all see that. The Hurricanes, I don't know, they just seem like a solid enough team that they should have made a run by now if it was going to happen. Like they've got the players. They don't have like those obvious holes.
Well, they made it to the Eastern Conference Final last year. I mean, albeit they got swept, but they still made it to the final or to the Eastern Conference Finals last year.
That's about as far as they've gotten, though. I mean,
yeah,
at the end of the day,
that is the furthest they've gotten since 2006.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, though. Like you hit that, and then where else do you go from there? You only go one step further, or it's a wait, or it's a disappointment. So there's nothing else in between at that point. So if they can't make that step with the core, which is a very good core, clearly, but sometimes it doesn't work out, right? They run into a team like the Rangers. Doesn't always equate.
But Steve sent that picture of Eric Tulsky. Holy fuck. Yeesh. Good Lord in heaven. Anything else? Yeah, so I wanted to bring up this one last thing before we move on to Billy's thing. Viewership for the Eastern Conference Final this year on ESPN is up 42%. Is this just because the Hurricanes are not in it?
It's just
or is this more
maybe it's
the Rangers are in
Rangers.
it? Yeah, because the Rangers are in it. Yeah.
Certainly a combination.
I agree with you. They're up. So against Sunday's Rangers Panthers game 3 averaged 2.4 million total viewers, peaking at 3.8 million. And 851K P 18 to 49. I guess those are our viewers 18 to 49. Yeah, up 94% and 66% versus last year's Western Conference Game 3 on ESPN Vegas versus Dallas, and 59% and 36% versus the Eastern Conference Final Game 3 last year, Carolina, Florida. And in fact, the Eastern Conference Final is up 42% in viewership through 3 games.
So
And
is
through
that just
38 games.
Ranger fans don't care about hockey unless their team is in it? Is that?
Well, I mean, you lost to the Devils in the first round last year. You probably watched some of the Carolina Devils series to watch the Devils lose. But unless you're a hockey fan, you weren't really watching Carolina, Florida in the Eastern Conference Final. Sorry, you just weren't. Also, through 38 games, the Stanley Cup playoffs on ESPN is netting an average of 1.32 million total viewers and 551,000 18 to 49, up 19% and 13% versus comparable points in 2023. So all positive things for the NHL and getting more money and more revenue.
It goes to show
Hooray.
you that the big market teams equate to big viewership every single time. That's why Chicago
Every time.
and LA, when they are the teams in the going deep, it's bigger ratings, and I mean every Boston as well, big market. Those are the big things. So no surprise that Carolina, Tampa didn't do as well last year ratings wise. And also, I think you should also mention that Ranger fans are New York fans. New Yorkers are everywhere. So there's a lot of New Yorkers at Florida games.
Listen, that was a 50-50 crowd yesterday, by the way.
A lot.
That
It
was
was
a
shocking
lot of Ranger
to
fans.
see that many there. They're definitely not limiting tickets to only the fans from Florida. So
no. Listen. They 100% were. The only thing is, every fucking New York person has moved to Florida, so it doesn't matter where in the state you live. You're allowed to buy tickets.
No native of Florida is at all interested in the fucking Panthers. Nobody who was born and grown up there. Only transplants are going to watching hockey, even if they're Panther fans. I'll get it out.
I did look into it. It was about $400 just to get into the door. I was actually thinking about it, but we'll see. We'll see how the series goes later on. But like Nick said, just goes to show you when big market teams are in the playoffs and this deep in the playoffs, ratings and the viewership 100% up. So I would like to see a Rangers Panthers Eastern Conference Final game versus a fucking Caitlin Clark game. Bring it on, bitch.
Wow.
Do we have to bleep that? I hope not.
Might.
Might have
to. Fucking that's it. You're living with that one, pal.
Really went over the edge.
We might get a call. We might get a call.
Oh,
man. From that one. Jesus.
Taking it too far.
If we did, oh well. It was been a good ride.
Shout out Caitlin Clark.
I'm making the
I hope she drops
Tom
like 50
Harkness
tonight.
and Tom Harkness only. Tom's comments do not adequately convey the feeling of the rest of those of us on the Friends and Rivals
Typical
podcast.
Ranger fan. Going off on the girl.
This has been a story. No.
When it comes time to find a hockey team, that's what a Rangers fan does.
No, this has been going on for 3 weeks. What are you talking about?
Oh boy. All right.
Let's do the DTF.
Now this is the wrong bell.
Yeah, well, I hope I don't cross the line like you did.
Follow that up, pal.
Let's see. Okay, so over in the NBA playoffs, sorry, was anybody still watching that? The Celtics are almost done beating up the Pacers.
Ding dong.
The Celtics are up 3-0. And actually they're still putting up a better fight than the Knicks would have probably, but they are down 3-0 and it's looking like that's going to be a sweep. Over in the West, the Dallas Mavericks are up 3-0 on the Minnesota Timberwolves. So who's going to be in the NBA Finals? Looks like we're going to expect Dallas and Boston. So I guess there's some consolation for Cowgirls fans who see Dak Prescott and company consistently out of the playoffs every year, faster than P. Diddy can come in an underage boy's ass. Oh shit! I went across the line again. I did it again.
That might be worse than what I said.
Allegedly.
Way better.
Allegedly.
Way better.
Oh my God.
Way better.
And for Boston, they could be comforted that NHL officials can't screw the Celtics out of their rightful championship. So, of course, Dallas also has the Stars, who are in a dogfight early in the series against the Edmonton Oilers in the Western Conference Finals. Could Dallas be the city that can hoist a Stanley Cup and whatever the stupid NBA trophy is called in the same season? If they can find a way to 12 more wins between the two of them, that's exactly what they're going to do. So over to the Rangers. So Captain Jacob Trouba was fined $5,000 for his attempted decapitation of Panthers Benny the Jet Rodriguez. As in any article ever written all time about the NHL, I am compelled to add that this is the maximum fine allowed under the collective bargaining agreement. Every time you see the 5K fine, they point that out. It's not much, but I've been waving the flag for years about this Trouba being a dirty player. So to Trouba's credit, he doesn't really do stuff after the whistle, and he's not like sneaky behind the play stuff. It's like center of attention. He's trying to, take people's heads off. But it's nice to see the NHL finally start to fine and suspend him for his attempts to injure players. And it's kind of like, it's kind of like waiting for Genghis Khan to kill the 40 million people and then, go and, hey, quit it, because these little fines and suspensions are fucking nothing. So just want to point that out. So this has been your weekly WTF. Thank you.
Typical Penguins fan.
That's right.
Listen, this whole fine thing, it's a fucking joke. And we've talked about this in the past on the show, but it literally is. You can, as the great Rick Carpinello always says, you can reach in the couch cushions and pay the fucking fine with whatever you find in there. I don't know what that's like. I don't have that much money in my couch cushions, but I'm sure Jacob Trouba does. And even in Paul Maurice's press conference today, one reporter asked him about it, and he asked the reporter to take his hat off so they can pass it around, so they can fill up the hat with money for poor Jacob so he can eat tonight. Joking about the $5,000 in fines that he's going to have to pay, where he's making what, $8.5 million a year. If they want these fucking things to stop, find them more. It's that simple. Hit him in the pocketbook, as they always say. It's my take. God damn it.
Great.
All right. Money talks, Nick.
Money, it's a gas. Grab that cash with both hands and make a stash. New plug, give a fuck, G and daydream. Think I'll buy me a hockey team.
That was a good segue to Money Talks there. Yeah, so we're getting close to the end of the season here with things to talk about in Money Talks. but we got something. We got something to talk about today. The teams that are top of the 2024-2025 cap hit, projected cap hit going into next year. I was looking at kind of where teams are looking, and there's top five teams with with what they're already spending. There's pretty little interesting going on. We got five teams. Philadelphia Flyers at the top, surprisingly.
Fuck the Flyers.
Just coming under the projected cap space of about with $500K. Vegas Golden Knights just under $1 million. Tampa Bay Lightning $5 million. Minnesota White Lightning about $6 million, and the Islanders at 6.2. All projected cap space for next year. Some of them have both Flyers and Vegas have LTIR candidates, but nevertheless, they're all sitting pretty high in the total number of money they've already elected to spend for next year, which doesn't give them a lot of room to make moves. But of those teams, Vegas and Tampa, both are really contenders next year in some capacity. Tampa went and just got McDonough again, which always weirds me out that we can make trades during the playoffs. It's like teams don't really make those kind of moves, during the I guess during the playoffs too often. But they're clearly going to be trying to also, not only shore up the defense, but re-sign Stamkos somehow in their cap. They have about $5 million left. Let's see. I think, yeah, it's going to be tough to make that happen with what they've got right now, but they can potentially move somebody make it somehow manageable. But it's a tough thing for them to do. With that said, Vegas, obviously, they every year they're making some crazy trade with LTIR money. This year was no different. Hannafin and Thomas Turtle both coming on board for long term. 6 years plus, I think, for both guys. Yeah, Hannafin's I think 8 years, if I remember correctly. So they're just retooling for basically their same thing. They're going to be nothing surprising there. Minnesota is a little different. I think Minnesota and the Flyers are teams to watch with their cap. Minnesota's in a bit of a bind. They didn't really make the playoffs this year after a disappointing year, and I think they're going to be in another difficult spot. They don't have a lot of space to make things happen with a lot of players already signed. They have about 19 spots already taken of the 23 for next year. That's with Spurgeon on LTIR. I don't remember if that means it probably means his slot is already accounted for in that 19, but I could be wrong. Either way, they're in a weird spot. They're still, kind of like a good mix of guys that are aging and coming into the play they're not all like the Islanders where they're all basically 30 up, 30 plus. So they may have some improvement there, but kind of difficult. And then you have the Islanders in the 5th spot here. The Isles actually getting an extra 2nd round pick helps in some capacity. Maybe they can, like I was alluding to earlier, potentially they could leverage a trade where they send a 2nd round pick or maybe multiple picks, maybe multiple seconds with maybe somebody like Anders Lee or JG Pageau. Both those guys making $7 million for Anders, $5 million for Pageau, both for 2 more years. I single those two out because they're the most movable contracts with 2 more years to go to try and make something happen where they can start to sign some guys. They do have some RFAs to sign and with Simon Holmstrom, Kyle McLean, who's definitely going to come back. Alva Wallstrom probably gone. I can't see him coming back. Ruslan Ishkov, he'll probably come back for a bit. He's just that one of the undersized kid that was playing for the Sun Tigers last year. Called up for the NHL, for the playoffs, just as an extra guy, but practice guy. Didn't get in the game at the end of the series, but really probably not going to make the team. But nevertheless, it puts the Isles in a bad spot there because they're basically, they got to make moves. Sorokin's deal comes on the books this year, $8 million now instead of $5 million was lower, $4 million previously. So of the 5 teams you look at, I think the most interesting is actually the Flyers. Flyers have the least amount of cap space right now going to next year, but they got 2 first-round picks this year and next year, 2 second-round picks next couple of years, and basically, they've got not a ton of guys signed long-term. Couturier, Owen Tippett, his forwards, Joel Farabee. Those are the only guys signed more than 2 years as a forward, and then only Travis Sanheim and Nick Seeler more than 2 years again. So they've been rebuilding, and we all thought they weren't going to make the playoffs this year. I think, but they were really close. They had a kind of like that. They shot up and almost, were staying in it for a bit. But obviously they didn't make it in the end, into the end of the year. But it'd be interesting to watch what they do. They lost the kid didn't want to sign with them. I can't forget that kid's name now. I went to what did he go? Should I trade him Anaheim?
Oh
yeah. What's his
Bobby.
face? He played a game. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't
Yeah,
not Bobby Brink.
No. I'll look it up in Anaheim. But anyway, they lost a pick there, like a guy that was, Couturier, Cutter Gauthier.
Cutter Gauthier. Yeah, there it is.
And
Yeah, we need a fucking stat boy on this show.
I know, we do. It'd be nice. But be with that. They have a kid from Russia they drafted last year that supposes is going to come over. But we'll see if how that happens this year or later. They obviously drafted him with the probably some sort of handshake deal who's coming over pretty soon. Another high pick they'll have this year. A couple picks with Florida's pick is obviously not going to be a high pick. That'll be very low. But their pick should be pretty. I don't remember where they were in the lottery, but I don't think they moved up. So they should be like a mid-round pick. early 10, 11 pick. Either way, it's more picks, more pieces. And then looks like they're probably going to start to, finish their rebuild in about another year when they have a bunch of guys come off the books. And they could even make trades to try and get some of these guys over to other teams, just like they did, with this year with trading out who they trade out to Florida. I forget this point, but to be honest, but either way, they made moves at the end of the year, made some guys, get some assets back, and they're going to be an interesting team. They're not going to have that top of the most cap hit, but they could, of course, absorb cap hit to take on assets to make that quicker rebuild happen. And much to our chagrin, they could quickly turn around in Philadelphia.
I think we all hope and pray that does not happen.
Yeah.
And that Maltsev, something happens and he decides to stay, and then they lose his rights and he goes to some other team and becomes a gigantic superstar. I think that's what we hope for. That would be glorious. Absolutely fucking glorious. All right, let's go with the state Steve Stomach.
Just before we do that,
what?
Remarkable come from behind in progress. Dallas 3 goals in less than 4 minutes to take a 3-2 lead halfway through the second period.
Woof.
By the way, when you guys are talking before, they showed that the Dallas crowd after the first goal, they made this comeback, and there's like 50 people all like in front of the stadium. Some are like barely standing up. They're like, yeah, typical Dallas, right? If you look at like the opposite, like Edmonton, like
it's like
thousands
Times Square,
of people,
yeah,
going crazy. It is such a bizarre thing that they did, having that group of like hodgepodge fans there. It's wild. I hope they show it again.
The rest of the Dallas fans are
stuck
in the basement of the Alamo.
That's San Antonio. That's San Antonio, Steve.
Still Texas.
You are correct. You are correct.
Texas
it is still
kind
Texas.
of big.
Oh, what a pass for that third goal.
Only a little. All right, let's go this day in Steve's Stomach.
Oh, that feels better.
Brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar.
Right here, we're saving calories. Round here, we all look so lean. Round here, we enjoy Coke Zero, but sacrifice flavor, no. Round here, Coke Zero's the way to go.
This one's going to bring us to the year of our Lord 2013. Please go to May 15th. The year of our Lord 2013.
May the 15th was a Wednesday. I must have been dieting because
no bagels.
Breakfast was a Milky Way and a can of Coca-Cola Classic.
What a diet. What a
Lunch
diet.
Jesus Christ.
Was a little bag of chips and a can of Coca-Cola Classic. Dinner
Coca-Cola
was
Classic and a bag of chips.
Dinner was a cheeseburger, a hot dog, and a can of Coca-Cola Classic.
Maybe you were just saving yourself for dinner.
Possibly. So, Tom, why did you pick Wednesday, May 15th in the year 2013?
Well, that's because police in Portland responded to a strange emergency call. A woman.
Wait. Oregon or Maine?
This would be Oregon.
Okay.
Oregon. I'm 100% sure it's Oregon. A woman has been on a bus when a man cut off some of her hair. Jared Walter, 22, was arrested. And after news of the arrest was released, 3 other women came forward saying that Walter and even put super glue into their hair. He was sentenced to just over 2 years.
What?
This was in 2009. less than 2 months after being released from prison in 2013, things took a darker.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Before you go any further, your math is completely off.
How?
If it was 2009 and he got 2 years, how is it 2013?
Listen, this
We're
is
getting
this
there.
is. I'm reading the article. It's not my math.
You don't go to jail
By,
right
by the
when
no, by
right
the
when
time you
do
get
it.
sentenced.
The trial took 2 years.
Typically
Listen,
take quite a long
when
time.
listen, when Rich
If he's
gets out,
actually
we'll
getting
have him on the podcast
well,
and we'll
yeah,
ask him the
okay.
process.
Good call.
So less than 2 months after being released from prison in 2013, things took a darker turn. Walter was again on a bus, but instead of cutting hair, oh, that's right, he masturbated and ejaculated into the hair of at least 3 women. He received
one shot?
another
They're like separate, like separate incidents.
Shotgun.
Doesn't say, Bill.
Oh.
I don't know. And he received another 2 years in prison. Walters was released in late 2014 and was banned. This is important. Banned from the Tri-Met transportation system.
Should have done that the first time.
But
Yeah.
that did not stop him from trying to style women's hair. Oh, no. He has been out of prison for a month. On New Year's Eve 2014, when he tried to cut the hair of a woman in line at a dollar store. He was again arrested and is currently awaiting trial. I want to fast forward to 2023. He was just released from prison, and he was arrested for violating his parole for trespassing on the Tri-Met transportation line.
Time's a creep. Time is a weirdo. Where does he come up with the shit? It's so disgusting.
I guess trying to do this again. What the fuck is wrong with people? Why can't, like, once is cutting someone's hair, I mean, great, good gag. But once you start doing other things and putting that in there, I mean, that takes a old turn. I'm at a loss for words for this one.
This one? This is the one. Yeah,
This is the one. This is the one. Don't mess with the hair. Don't mess with the hair.
Wow.
Well, which one really crossed the line for you? Which one of my stories really?
I don't know. I think the guy, the one dude that was having relations with the
Pool float,
the bar, what's it called, the handrail.
Oh yeah, I remember that guy. That guy was great. I love that guy.
I don't know.
You can't figure that one out.
Yeah,
that was still a mystery.
A mystery. Absolute. Unsolved mysteries, like
the pool floats.
The guy from that show just talking about it and just look like with the music and everything. That was how I always imagined that one. Like, why? So many questions.
By the way, this week the Rangers came to terms with forward Dylan Rubrick on a 3-year entry-level contract.
Great.
He is. You could potentially in the preseason next year see a fourth line of Adam Enstrom, who's 6'7", Matt Rempe, who's 6'8", and Dylan Rubrick, who is also 6'7". Imagine that fucking line coming at you. Holy shit.
Let me guess. The skyscraper line.
Oh, I love it already, Nick.
I was thinking Rubrick's cube.
I don't. Excuse me, Tom.
Somebody had the Rempire State Building, the Ed Life Building, and a Rockefeller Center.
I don't get it. What's fun about playing with a building?
I like that. That's a good one. I like that one. That was good. I like it. I like that one a lot. I like it.
No, that's gonna do it. That's gonna do it.
I don't know. Is it?
Yep. Come on, we can get it in just under an hour.
Incredible.
Would it be just under an hour?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, only one of us has a team playing, so kind of makes it a little bit. Should be a lot shorter than an hour.
There's not a lot of people that like PK Subban on the Twix, by the way.
Oh,
People
but-
really don't like PK Subban.
Racist.
Wrap it up.
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with race. I don't.
Oh,
Of course
no,
it
it does.
does.
It does.
I don't know about that.
Oh
Come
my!
on.
Oh my!
Of course
Oh
it
my!
does.
Oh my!
Come on, man.
God.
How do people like Paul Bissonnette and not like PK Subban? They're the same
Yeah.
person. They just have different colored skin, and yet people hate PK.
In the same spot. They're in the
Biz is actually
entertainment.
1,000 times worse than PK.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, I'm
an
not a
asshole.
big fan of Biz. I'm not a big fan of Biz. I actually tolerate PK more than I tolerate Biz. I kind of agree with you on that. But I don't think it's racist. You guys are fucking racist. All of you.
You're sexist. So
What?
there you go.
It's I don't know which is worse. I think racism is worse
Sexism.
at this point.
Sexism.
Get the hell out of here.
Because it's you.
No way.
Well, obviously the
and-
worst one is being biased against fat people. That's actually the worst bias.
Well, we're all guilty of that, Bill.
Says the old
Right.
tons of fun.
All right.
Jesus fucking Christ. Why'd you have another fucking cheeseburger? Holy shit.
See, this is what I would live with, and it shouldn't be. Why do we look the other way? I don't get it. It's the
We
worst.
try
shit.
because we can't look
Saddists.
through you, buddy.
Right.
We gotta look the
we
other
gotta
way.
look the other way.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ,
We're
man.
disgusted by you. We have to
Put
look
the
other way.
hamburger down.
I thought it was sunny out. Oh, hey, Bill. All right. That's gonna do it for us. Go on the Twix.
When Billy sits around the house, he sits around the house.
Go on the Twix at
I'm
friends
sorry.
underscore rivals. Give us a follow. While you're on the internet, just go and turn on notifications for the Friends and Rivals podcast. We might make you laugh about some fat guy or hate on women a little bit. We have something for everybody in this show. Billy, say
And
something.
3, 2, 1, canceled.
I'm
Billy,
Yeah.
say something.
It's good.
Please.
Good run, guys.
Anything.
Good run.
gonna go eat my feelings now.